Well, welcome everybody. My name is Mandy Rogers. I use she, her pronouns, and if you could put your name and your pronouns in the chat and what town you're from in Montco, that would be wonderful. I'm so happy to see everybody here and welcome you on behalf of Progressive Montco. I'm a co-chair of this organization, and you'll be meeting other leaders and members of our organization tonight, and we'll be meeting you, and I'm really excited about that. We're here today to celebrate and share our vision of a Montgomery County, a Pennsylvania, a United States, and a world that puts people and planet over profits and promotes justice and love in our towns and communities. We want to hear your stories, your visions, and we want you to join us in the work to make this vision a reality. I want to begin our house party tonight with a toast. So I hope you all got the recipe for tonight's signature cocktail, the Montco Mule.
Oh,
Here's mine. Oh, it's sort of not working with my background.
cocktail will do.
I have Red Bull. I hope that'll be an acceptable substitute. I'm working on vampire hours, so you know it's
whatever you have.
Yep,
it's technically my 9 in the morning, so you know, gotta wait until 5 in the morning for it to be happy hour.
All right, that's no problem. So here's to every one of us who in ways big and small are working to create justice, to care for our planet, and to lift each other up. Here's to our power, our energy, our love, our voices, and the life that connects us all. Cheers.
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 Hello.
Cheers. Mine's virgin.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So
Cheers.
Cheers.
Everybody.
Awesome.
Cheers.
We have door prizes tonight. We have breakout groups. We have state senators joining us. And we all have the chance to be part of this important work. We'll be asking you to join us going forward. And I, for one, am really excited about our potential together. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay, we're going to play a short video to just talk about what we all just went through the past few weeks. So let me share my screen.
How do we win this election?
It wasn't TV ads from super PACs like the Lincoln Project.
It wasn't even the Biden campaign itself or the Democratic Party.
It was everyday working people like you and me.
We did the work to deliver Pennsylvania.
From big cities
to small towns and rural communities.
We showed up.
We gave our nights, weekends, and holidays.
We organized our neighborhoods.
We marched, we volunteered, and we voted.
Biden won.
Thank God.
People were getting out their cars, stopping and screaming.
Yes, a beautiful moment, and I'm still feeling it. But we won this election, and we know what our communities need.
We can't afford to go back to normal.
Normal left millions of us behind.
Without solid jobs,
Safe homes.
Or good schools.
Listen.
listen.
Listen, Joe Biden.
We are not going back to normal.
We won because working class people of all races delivered for you.
Now it's time for you to deliver for working class people.
We know you can't do it alone.
Throughout our history, we've seen that when working people of all races come together, we can win big change.
The labor movement pushed Franklin Roosevelt and won the New Deal.
The Civil Rights Movement pushed Lyndon B. Johnson and won the Voting Rights Act.
Now we're here to push you, Joe Biden.
Let's win health care for all.
Let's create millions of good union jobs.
Let's fund schools, social workers, and public goods.
Let's save our planet.
So our children have a future.
We, the people, won this election.
Now it's time to deliver an America that works for all of us.
Yeah, I think that Pam was the wrong kind of Pam. Yeah.
So again, thanks for joining us. Let's see, I want to just make sure I, that video, I think, really sums up the work that we all did. Can I see a show of hands? If you did any work, phone banking, text banking, deep canvassing, door knocking, hanging any kind of lit or door handle thingies, just raise your hands for us. Just wave, okay? I knew that almost everybody on this call has done something in the last few months to help us win this election, because it just took everybody. Oh, sorry, hold on one second. It just took all of our work to make that happen. So what I wanted to do that for is to show you this is what solidarity looks like. So I'm Sue Caskey. I'm the chair of Progressive Montco. I ran as a delegate for Bernie in the 2020 primary race. Along with a few other delegates, we started Montco for Bernie to get out the vote in the primaries. But when he and some of the other candidates suspended, we decided to keep the momentum going into the presidential election and keep advocating for policy for the people over profit in Montgomery County. The reason we wanted to keep going is that we met so many people. We really felt there was a path for progressive politics, true progressive politics, to win here in Montco. And we've aligned with our statewide sister organization, PA Stands Up, because as you just saw in that video, we align with their values, vision, and their belief in people power. So with all of those hands raised on the screen, you can see that's where the power lies, right? So that's what organized people can do. We did that to win this election. If we hadn't done that work, Joe Biden would not have won this election. So whatever the mainstream media or the establishment politicians try to tell you, without progressive turning out in massive numbers between August and November, we would not have Joe being inaugurated. Well, and as of, I guess, Monday or yesterday or whatever day it was, we're losing track. Joe Biden will be inaugurated in January. So I think that the establishment politicians know exactly what power we're building here, and we're going to keep building power for the people and bringing policy for people over profit, not just to Montco, but to Harrisburg and Washington. Tonight, we want to talk about what that policy looks like. We want to talk with you about what your vision is for 2021 and beyond, and then we're going to talk about how to make that reality. I will tell you that tonight we want you to consider joining Progressive Montco. We're planning to work hard to build power and to use that power to improve all of our lives in Montgomery County. So we're going to ask you to donate, to join us as dues-paying members, and we'll explain later why that's so important. So, but right now, we want to talk to you and hear what you think is really important. I'm going to turn it over to Jamie Malley. Jamie is our Medicare for All working group lead, and he's going to take it from here. So please take it away, Jamie. See if you can, I think you can unmute. Oh, go ahead. There you go.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. It's good to see so many familiar faces and new faces. One of our goals at Progressive Montco is to bring the people of the community together. In a few minutes, after I share a story with you about why I'm involved, we're going to ask you to meet in small breakout groups and introduce yourself to each other and discuss what brought you here this evening and what your vision is for progressive policy change at all levels of government in the future, or in the coming year, or in the future in general. So here's my story of why I'm here and why I'm so passionate about civic participation, the creation of Progressive Montco, and how when we work together, we can help to create more effective governance. It's a story of why organizations like this matter and how they can make a difference in our community. 31 years ago, this exact time of year, I moved home from a year in San Francisco to the Binghamton area in Broome County, New York. One day, an old friend was wearing one of these t-shirts right here. I hope you could see it. My backdrop might blur it, but it says, "Don't burn Broome." And he explained to me that there were plans to build a trash incinerator in the county, and that he was working with an organization called Citizen Action of New York, who were opposed to the incinerator. The proponents of the project included Democratic Governor Mario Cuomo, Republican Senator Al D'Amato, and other elected officials from both parties. So this was truly a bipartisan effort. Through an examination of the permittal process, Citizen Action revealed that the design for the facility was 4 times larger than Broome County's waste stream. Building such a large facility would be economically disastrous unless, as we soon discovered, there were plans to import garbage. It turned out that Cuomo and D'Amato from Queens and Long Island wanted to ship New York City garbage by rail to Broome County. When opposition started to develop, D'Amato used his influence to prompt the FAA to order the county's landfill closed due to supposedly high incidences of bird strikes at the adjacent county airport. We also learned that the agency developing the project had falsely underestimated the future life of the landfill in order to create a crisis and amplify the need to burn trash. So I joined Citizen Action in their efforts to educate the public about the financial and environmental ramifications of the project. One of our actions was to recruit and support candidates for county legislature who opposed the incinerator. After interviewing the candidate in my district who had just moved to the area from Long Island, we realized he'd be perceived as an outsider and stood no chance of winning in a 3-1 Republican district. Someone on the committee, joked that I should run. Well, it turned out to be no joke. With the help of Citizen Action activists, we methodically canvassed 3 rural townships in my district. And in November of 1990, I was elected to the county legislature and then reelected in 1992. Only the second Democrat ever to do this. Over the time of my service, I worked closely with the Public Works Department and Citizen Action to educate the public about the project. We went door to door, held public forums, wrote articles for the papers, and encouraged residents to contact their legislators. We exposed the importation plan, developed a lifetime systems cost analysis, which exposed the long-term debt burden residents would face. And we wrote and passed the first mandatory recycling program. We established that bird strikes rarely occurred at the airport and that the landfill had much unused capacity. And in fact, they still use that same landfill 31 years later today. Most importantly, though, we were able to cultivate enough civic understanding and participation that 2 of my colleagues reversed their position and joined us in passing a law which prohibited the importation of garbage into the county, which effectively killed the project. By revealing the true nature of the project, that it was developed to benefit outside interests, New York City, corporate interests, Foster Wheeler, who was building the facility, and most importantly, the financial interests of the local banks and lawyers who stood to make millions of dollars on the sale of bonds to finance the project. We were able to mobilize citizens against this incinerator. By stopping this boondoggle, we spared Broome County from the financial calamities that were later experienced in Washington and Warren counties in New York, and right here in Pennsylvania and Harrisburg due to their oversized and costly incinerators. Without a citizens advocacy group like Citizen Action of New York, none of which I just spoke of would have been possible. That's the power of citizens advocacy groups like Progressive Montco. And I encourage you to join with us in fighting for people over profits. Now, we're gonna, in a minute, we're gonna go to the breakouts. Actually, in a few seconds, I'm gonna repeat the questions and someone's gonna post them in the chat so you can see them. But you're gonna have 9 or 10 minutes to share what brought you here this evening and what your vision is for policy change in governments of all levels in the coming year. So I encourage you to have a nice conversation. And when we come back, we're gonna take a couple of examples. You can feel free to post your thoughts in the chat and have a good time.
So this is the question here in the chat from Mandy, correct? Your vision of change that you want to work on in the coming year. I just want to.
What brought you here?
Okay, great. I am going to send everyone to breakout rooms right now, and I'll post that question again once you're in the breakout room. So we're going to have about 3 people in each group, and everyone will get 3 minutes to talk about their vision, and then we'll bring everybody back and talk about it. Okay, have fun. Thank you.
You have to find me first on the screen.
I know, there's.
Yeah. Once again, thank you everybody for coming. I hope you had some interesting conversations. I met with Mickey, Mary, and John, and those guys had a whole bunch of interests and passions. So it was good to hear from them. I encourage you all to put examples of what you may have discussed in the chat. These are the things that we want to hear from you, the things you're interested in. And to paraphrase Mickey, his big 3 issues are the existential crisis around climate change, income and power distribution inequities, and the healthcare situation. And he believes that we need to undertake a more passionate or a more aggressive form of politics to achieve these desired goals. So I'm all about that. Would anybody like to speak up and share just a minute of their conversation? We have time to do a couple. I see Senator Haywood's in the screen, so we're going to get to him soon. But would anybody raise your hand? I can't see everybody, so maybe Sue, you can see. And anybody want to talk out there? Share? Gabrielle? You want to say something? I can't unmute you, so you're gonna have to unmute Gabrielle.
Okay, I've been unmuted, so I'll go ahead and talk.
There we go.
And so our group, Eileen and Lucinda, they both are primarily concerned with universal health care. Lucinda, having been a nurse practitioner for 30 years, has seen things descend in the treatment, and it's just almost entirely focused on billing and getting money for investment groups. And Eileen also echoed those concerns. And all of us also expressed concern for racial justice. And my personal primary concerns are for racial justice and for environmental justice, taking care of our earth. I have 2 small children, and I am deeply concerned about the world that we'll be leaving them. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Gabrielle?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Jamie, for inviting me to say a few things. I was really lucky to be in a breakout group with Don Holmes from PA Stands Up, and also Senator Haywood's own staffer, Janelle Edwards, and we had a great chat, which you will not be surprised to hear I sort of dominated, talking about my own work here in Abington with Progressive Abington, and my desire to keep to use progressive politics here on the very local level to keep our local Democrats' feet to the fire and continue to push them to the left. And that's so we had a really interesting conversation.
Good, thank you, Gabrielle. Let's do one more quickly. Sue, if you could see a hand, go ahead. Who would like to speak?
Hi, this is Kara Colas. I'll speak. And sorry, I'm not on video. I had 2 people in my group and I've already forgotten their names, but campaign finance report, getting big money out of the political system. Also, oh shoot, and I had the other one. Term limits was another one that we talked about. And then something that's near and dear to my heart is figuring out how to get Democrats to vote down ballot, because the Republicans are making it harder and harder through the straight party voting elimination, getting rid of it. And we've got to figure out how to get them to realize why it's important to vote all the way down without just saying vote all the way down. Like we've got to figure that one out.
Thank you, Kara. It's good to hear you. I can't see you. It would be good to see you if I could. My group also, the first thing everybody mentioned was in relation to fair districts and the redistricting that's going to take place soon. So perhaps the senators may touch upon it. I don't want to tell you what to say, Senator Haywood. But I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Allie right now, and we're going to go forth. Thank you for sharing, people.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Allie. I'm on the steering committee of Progressive Montco, and I'm really excited to be here with everyone this evening with so many people. And I'm really also honored to have my state senator, Art Haywood, here joining us this evening. Senator Haywood represents the 4th district, which includes Abington, Cheltenham, Jenkintown, Springfield, and part of Northwest Philadelphia. And Senator Haywood was first elected in 2014. He's fought for working class people across the state to reduce homelessness, increase affordable housing, and make our schools safer. He's a true champion of increasing the minimum wage and enacting criminal justice reform. And during the pandemic, he fought for millions of dollars in federal CARES Act funds to be allocated to prevent evictions, foreclosures, and homelessness, which is really important right now. And I know that he truly values the participation of citizens like you and me in government. I actually took a class that he taught a few years ago about how we can create change by lobbying our representatives. So for these reasons, I'm really excited to hear what he has to say about his vision for the state and how we can help him move progressive policies forward. So without further ado, here is Senator Art Haywood.
Thank you so much, Allison, and thank you everyone for organizing this conversation, but also organizing folks who can fight for progressive values here in Montgomery County and around the state. It's my opinion, your organization, like others, are critical for changing this nation. In 2017, I, along with a few others, co-founded Turn PA Blue. That's outside of the Democratic Party, but a group of activists who were committed to getting progressive folks and new Democrats in. And we had tremendous success, historic success in 2018, more success than the Democratic Party had on its own. In 2020, we had some hopes for getting closer to the majority, spent $12 million in the state Senate to do so, and came up with no increase. So I'm extremely disappointed in the outcome of the 2020 elections in Harrisburg. Obviously, I'm glad to get Trump out. But we lost Harrisburg, not just in the state Senate, but also in the state House, the treasurer, and the auditor general. Republicans won Harrisburg in 2020. Nevertheless, we've got to continue to fight for a just recovery. A just recovery includes raising the minimum wage. That is my core activity this year and next year. I think it's going to take about 20 months to get it done. We've identified about 140 organizations who have stood with us to fight for raising the minimum wage, or they have stood with us when I did the poverty tour a year and a half ago, and they have stood with us as I attended a number of Black Lives Matter demonstrations across central Pennsylvania. These are the organizations that we've got to mobilize in order to get Republicans to raise the minimum wage. So in terms of an agenda, I know I was asked what was my key agenda. That I think is, for me, number one. A close number two, and maybe a number one for some of us, is dealing with the attempt by the Republicans to gerrymander the Supreme Court and the higher courts. Right now, we got a Supreme Court. They're elected by all the citizens of the state. We all vote, we select them. The Republicans have a plan so that the Supreme Court would be selected in different smaller geographies. So Central Pennsylvania would get one. North Central Pennsylvania would get one. Southeast Pennsylvania would get one. All of this is designed to take away the Democratic majority of the Supreme Court. The same Supreme Court that changed the gerrymandering rules for Congress is what the Republicans want to end. And so we will really need your support this year as a constitutional amendment is being pushed to gerrymander the Supreme Court and get decisions that will be destructive for most of Pennsylvanians. That is a key one. Now, beyond that, we still have a number of issues that I would describe, some in DC, some in Harrisburg, some in Montgomery County. Let me talk a little bit about a progressive agenda just for Montgomery County. Bail reform. We can get rid of cash bail in Montgomery County. The county commissioners have indicated that they want to do so. So has the district attorney. But a significant push still has to be made so that we end cash bail, the very cash bail that keeps people in jail just because they don't have money. That's something I believe we can win, we must fight for. Second, we have the first and only African-American judge in the Court of Common Pleas who is retiring. We need to get an African-American woman to replace her. This is a key part of the agenda. Anyone who says they're concerned about racial justice, we only had one African-American woman on the Court of Common Pleas in the history of the county. We cannot lose that spot. Key racial justice issue. On the state level, I think our top two are, again, stopping the gerrymandering of the courts and raising the minimum wage. Another thing I asked you to be concerned about is we have several state senators who were elected for the first time in 2018. They need to be re-elected. It may take 2 years of effort to secure their victory. Katie Muth needs to be protected and defended. Maria Collette needs to be protected and defended. And not far away from us in Bucks County, Steve Santaserio needs to be protected and defended. I've said for many years, it takes sometimes 2 years to win an election. I think it may take 2 years to protect these individuals. And I strongly encourage you to do that. Those are Montgomery County issues. At the national level, we got a big opportunity. We got Biden. We got to maximize what we can get out of the Biden administration. Every progressive policy that you have, from healthcare to pay to criminal justice to gender equality, all these issues need to be, we need to be vocal. We need to advance them. The Tuesday with Toomey, obviously we got Toomey's spot that'll be up in 2022. We got to try to get somebody decent in that position who can win. So those are some of the agenda items I highlight. Be glad to take any questions. I'm at 7:42. I only wanted to go to 7:40. Be glad to take any further questions. Oh yes, Carolyn Nichols, my friend, is running for Supreme Court. I'm glad that was put in the chat. The position on the Pennsylvania Supreme Court that's up is a Republican, John Saylor. We've got to make sure we get a Supreme Court in Pennsylvania that gets rid of Saylor and gets a strong Democrat in. That will help us in the gerrymandering decisions that will be forthcoming later this year. Be glad to take any questions.
So I have one question. You mentioned that one of the things with criminal justice reform would be ending cash bail. And I know that that is something that a lot of us feel very passionate about. How can we help make that happen?
I think there are 2 things that can be done. One, call the county commissioners, Valar Kirsch and Ken Lawrence, in a coordinated way. Choose a week where calls are made to them, letting them know that we need to end cash bail. The next week, call Kevin Steele, the district attorney's office. Call him. Now, it's critical that your voice be at volume. By volume, I mean, we don't want to have 1 call a day or 2 calls a day. Select a day of action to make your voice heard. Second, choose a day of action that is consistent. Every Thursday, every Tuesday, whatever the pattern that you want to create. It is a mistake to have a day of action in January and not have the next one until May. There's no momentum. There's no sense of pressure. I hope, so that's what I would recommend. Emailing is also good. I've been on a number of Zoom meetings with advocates. Zoom meetings are also a very effective way to have your voice heard.
Okay, thank you. That sounds like a good idea. So I know that you introduced a single payer healthcare, I guess it was in 2018. And so I guess I'm wondering, is that something that we can help you push forward? And is that something that maybe has more likelihood of getting somewhere because of COVID, or how do you see that?
Yes, I did introduce single payer at that time. I think our best shot for single payer is at the national level, not state by state. The finances of making it work in Pennsylvania were very challenging. A tremendous income tax would have to be applied. In Pennsylvania, there's pretty much no support for that. We do have an approach for a public option as opposed to a full single payer. there's been a public option proposal. However, the support for any of that is not present. Right now, the Democrats are down 20 to 30 in the state Senate, 20 to 30. We get all the Democrats to agree, you're going to lose 20 to 30. And so we don't have the numbers to make that happen. Same thing in the House. In fact, the House lost seats. So I don't see convincing the Republican majority to move forward on that kind of agenda.
Okay. So one other question that I think some of the people that are on this call might be interested in running for office themselves, whether it's, at the very local level, their own, borough council or something like that, or maybe they have bigger ambitions. What advice would you give to people that want to do that?
I think running for office is very important. I ran for township commissioner in 2009 in Cheltenham Township. In a way, I probably got more done there in the state Senate. In my township, we were able to pass non-discrimination based upon gender orientation. We were able to pass a sustainability plan. We were able to divest our pensions from all gun manufacturers. We were able to go very far on recycling. So I would say local government is a place where change can happen. It's also where you can get experience in governing. I have found that those who have experience in governing, it is an advantage in the state legislature. It's not the only advantage, but it is one of them. School boards is another place where people can get experience in governing, making decisions about governing. So I strongly encourage people to run for local office. And those who want to go above that, that's fine as well. I would say, however, I was a co-founder of Turn PA Blue to beat Republicans in office. Turn PA Blue is all about getting Republicans out of office. So my agenda is primarily that, not so much switching around who the Democrats are, because 20 versus 30 is still 20 versus 30 if you got people who all agree, who are all progressive. They're still going to go down 20 to 30. So we got to beat the Republicans. We've got to have a focus on taking the majority.
Okay, thanks. I'm just looking at the questions in the chat. So one person is asking about voter suppression, saying, it's a major problem nationally. Is it also true in PA? And are there things that we can do to affect it?
Voter suppression is an issue throughout the nation. Now, there's different ways it's done in different states. Of course, the main thing was an attempt to discourage people from voting by mail, which was done by the president and others. I did see a piece of legislation in the state Senate proposing voter ID. So the voter ID battles that we won in the past, we may have to fight those battles again. And I would say the key thing for us is to maintain agenda to increase voter participation, same-day voter registration, early voting. These have to be on the agenda. If they're not, we'll have a serious problem. I see another question about the gerrymandering of the courts. It's not just a gerrymandering of the courts. The legislature will draw the lines for districts based upon the US Census. And so we've got to do all we can to make sure that the new lines are fair. Now we have an advantage. Our Supreme Court created some rules for these districts. They did it when they did the rules for the Congress, but the same principles that apply to congressional districts will apply to the state House and Senate districts. But we still got a Republican majority we got to manage.
Okay. I guess we do have our work cut out for us, but I think that's why we're all here tonight, because we know that it's important work and we're, passionate about doing it. So thank you so much for being here and for taking our questions and for telling us a little bit about what your priorities are. And I'm going to hand it over to Jamie to introduce our next speaker.
Thank you so much, and stay on the battlefield.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Haywood. So great to have you here.
All right, Jamie.
Unmute, please. Unmute. I'm talking. There
Oh,
we
we
go.
can hear you.
You can hear me now. Wow, good thing I didn't say anything crazy. I am so excited right now. I'm honored and excited to introduce our next guest. She was a founding member of Indivisible Mid-Montco, who bravely decided to challenge long-term Republican incumbent John Rafferty in PA's 44th senatorial district. Through her passion, strength, determination, and with a loyal and energetic group of supporters, Katie defeated Rafferty by nearly 5,000 votes. In 2 short years, she's become a champion of social, economic, and environmental justice in the state Senate. She's got an incredibly strong and talented voice. In mid-November, she was elected by the Democratic Caucus to serve as their chair for the policy committee. And representing parts of Berks, Chester, and right here in Montgomery counties, my friend and yours, please welcome Senator Katie Muth.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay? Good? Okay. Thank you for having me. It's a hard act to follow Senator Art Haywood, who was obviously one of my mentors when I was deciding to run. If you hear my dog Vinny, he gets very jealous when I'm on a Zoom, so he's nipping at my ankles. I'm pumped to be here tonight. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to plan for. We have a lot of work to do. I'm excited to see so many other people on here. That shows that there's a lot of momentum, right, that we still have left post-election, which is huge. And as Senator Haywood mentioned, there's some rough challenges ahead in terms of the state legislature. I agree with every single one of his agenda items for the county. For the sake of time, I don't want to be redundant to his agenda, but I think there's a couple other things that I know that I'm going to be focusing on, both as the policy chair and just as someone who's new to government, but also prior to being elected, didn't know a lot about government and how it works. And now that I'm in there, I always knew there was a level of corruption. I'm sure we all can relate, or at least have read something about it. And now that I'm in, I don't know that there are words to describe the level of corruption. And so I laugh, because if I don't laugh about that, it does cause me a lot of tears and anger and sleepless nights. And so I alone can't fix that. And I alone, I am finding that that's not just with Republicans. And I'm not trying to divide our party. I want to make our party better. I want to make our party stronger. And I think one of the things to touch on is campaign finance reform. We have legislators who are bought and paid for to the dollar, and their vote records reflect exactly who gave them money. And you will meet these senators and you would think like, gosh, some of them have to be like good people somewhere in there, right? And then they just go and vote against humanity with sometimes like a smirk on their face. And so I don't really operate in that space at all. I probably should get a lot of Botox to freeze my face, because it's usually like horrified. Like I have a wrinkle here from 2 years of just like being like, what the fuck is going on right now? And so I say that because we need to take that rage, and I remind myself is that like, if I don't channel it and push it towards something energizing and to push change, it sits nowhere. So I want us to focus a lot on like civics 101. How does the state government work? Why it doesn't work? I think a lot of people don't understand that there's really great pieces of legislation that don't move for a reason. And I use my Western Pennsylvania family, where my roots are in Westmoreland County, to use it as my guinea pig. So my dad still lives there. God bless him. He's a Democrat in the sea of red. And, my dad didn't go to college. My dad was forced to be a single parent when my mom passed away suddenly when I was 11. And so she had a brain aneurysm, and that just like flipped our family upside down. And if it weren't for the economic security of some of my other family members like uncles and aunts, I wouldn't be sitting here right now because, you know, my grandmother and my aunt, or both, I had a little chunk of inheritance, paid off my first section of student loans, and then went and paid for some semesters at Penn State and then had some more student loans. And so I'm lucky. I made it out of the working poor. And, but my dad and my mom never showed that. My mom was a nutritionist for WIC. And she just gave so many fucks. And so I take that because she was always, inclusive when like that wasn't a thing, you know, and like the whitest school district in Pennsylvania that I went to, and there might have been, you know, two you know, people of color in our district, and those were like the people we grew up with, and she taught me that, you know, how to be a real patriot. And I want us to reclaim that word. I really, really do. And but then you go in the real world and you realize not everyone was raised like you, so you have to sort of start reframing, right? And move towards educating people on why we're divided. And poor people, regardless of their color, are, you know, white people are taught, poor, working poor that are white, there's a racial division there that I don't know that we can all heal, but we certainly can be a part of the educational piece. And part of that connects to everything else. A fair living wage, environmental justice, all of these things are interconnected issues. Criminal justice reform, all of this, right? I think the class part of this is really what I find as the common bond of dysfunction, is that if you don't have money, government and the criminal justice system doesn't work for you. And I am proud to be one of the only state senator. I don't take any special interest money. I'm a political unicorn, and I'm sure that's probably why Senator Haywood's like protect Katie Muth in the next 2 years, because I'm sure there'll be a deliberate attack on all fronts to eliminate me from the state Senate. I've pissed a lot of people off on both sides of the aisle, because we have to talk about the truth. And the truth is that government was designed to work for the people and protect people. And right now it enables harm. Full blast enables harm in a multitude of ways. And so when I see the Department of Environmental Protections literally letting people being poisoned, and there's people in this state that don't have clean drinking water and have to fill out at a pumping station with a plastic jug. This isn't some third world country. This isn't some documentary of another place that we've never been. This is Pennsylvania. And so, you know, the same thing is that there are people who can't put food on the table. There are people that live beyond, past paycheck to paycheck, that work plus 40 hours a week, which is criminal. I know people that I work with and they don't even work. They don't work. They show up, they get their picture taken, they cut a ribbon, and they get reelected, and it's bullshit. And so we have to reframe this. We have to be just as persistent as the 400 million people in my inbox from Doug Mastriano emailing us, talking about how the democracy is under attack. We need to flood inboxes like that, because we have truth on our side. And so whatever the issue, we know everything needs fixed. So being strategic is part of it, but that public awareness piece is how we grow the army. If people don't know, they're not going to be with us. And a lot of people believe that these things are in place. I'll never forget the first month in office I won't even call her a lobbyist. She was a victim of child marriage and came in and told me, was lobbying to end child marriage in Pennsylvania. And I was like, excuse me? I had no clue. I've lived here my whole damn life. And I was like mind blown. Thank goodness we did end that last year. Go Pennsylvania. But that really should show you that like how far we are behind. And when you say, hey, your well water, that's not protected by the state of Pennsylvania. And if someone contaminates it from the gas and oil industry, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, because guess what? They're either gonna put you in a gag order because you can't beat them in court. You don't have the money. And they're not going to fix your water. They'll put a plastic water buffalo in your front yard, but they're not going to fix your water. And we've let Pennsylvania become this corporate state. That doesn't have to stay that way. And so representation matters. People from all walks of life, people that aren't just mediocre, privileged people that come in and expect or feel entitled to these elected positions. That's not how this works anymore. And so we cracked in, we broke a little chip in the glass into Harrisburg, into the dome of corruption. I hope that everyone on this call takes a sledgehammer to it. because we have to do that. We can't, we are in the most critical moment. We know COVID has just shown us all these vulnerabilities of our economic system. We know that people of color are being more harmed than they were before, if we thought that was ever possible. COVID-19 has revealed and just exacerbated all of these issues. And so when we talk about, you know, we need to fix one thing at a time or this, we have to chew gum and walk at the same time and like be multitaskers. And again, that starts with educating people about the issues, what Pennsylvania doesn't do, what it needs to do, how state government works. I could be the chair of any committee in the Senate, and I have no power in the minority. We could have a bill where 100,000 Pennsylvanians agreed with it, and it would never come out of committee. And so the things I need your help with, really, step one is on, you know, swearing in day. We're going to try to change the Senate rules. Unless there's a late Christmas miracle, I don't think it'll work. They will probably all be voted down. It could be my third time probably getting called the question on, so they'll end debate on the floor. But then we'll introduce resolutions to still try to change the rules. They won't move, but we're going to do a countdown of all these bills that never moved, resolutions that never moved. And we want it to be fair. Committee membership should be 50-50. But it's not right now. It's 7-4. How the hell are we ever going to win a vote at 7-4? Like, you've got to be kidding me, right? And this simple common sense things, anyone that I represent isn't heard in Harrisburg because they can shut down debate on the floor. They can do whatever, you know, they want in the majority. And I would say I would change the rules if we were in power. I want that to be clear. This is a fairness issue. There's a way to make government more effective. Other states already do this, and we are one of the least effective legislatures in this nation, and we are one of the only full-time paid legislatures. That's it. That's absurd. It's criminal, really, is what it is. And so when we talk about all this is just simple civics 101. Like, if, you know, why can't we get lead out of our water? Well, that's a great question. We've had bill after bill, and not one of them in 20 some years have ever come up for a vote. That's absurd. And so that public awareness piece actually ties wonderfully into this next election cycle, because all elections matter. And we do have, we now, I think, have this platform where people are paying attention to, you know, why courts matter, right? Why every level of court matters. We have people who now pay attention to state government, likely because they had to file for unemployment and use resources. And now they're starting to pay attention. Oh, everything's underfunded. We don't have an L&I system that can pump out money quickly. Why? Well, let's tell you the history of why and how things are underfunded, right? And so I like to try to change my language to be less attacking directly on the R word of Republican, but more of the majority party in power. And I think that that's just something I try really hard to like say, like, the majority of party in power, the majority party did not do X, Y, and Z, or the majority party won't take action right now to end evictions by the end of the month, right? They hold the keys to the Jeep and we're stuck in the parking lot. And we just need to keep saying, use your power to help people and be loud. And we're gonna have to grow this little mini army on here across 66 more counties. My husband was multitasking tonight for me. So he was on a Chester County call and this prior to me getting on, and he was like, the Montco one has way more people. And I go, that's okay. We gotta shift. We gotta like spread the momentum, get you guys to motivate, because we grew that county too. And so again, growing the army is just increasing our ability to make change. I'm devastated about election cycle this past with the state seats. I'm bummed, but you know, in all honesty, we need to work on what we stand for and being more vocal about that instead of playing defense, right? And repeating the other side's attacks and talking about what we stand for, because we have truth on our side. And we are the party of the strong moral compass, right? And so this isn't going to be easy. I always tell myself, like, that's not why you're here. If it was easy, like, you know, like this would already be done already. so there's a reason. And I look forward to fighting the fight with all of you, but I want to make sure I'm not talking too long and there's questions. So I'm going to open up the chat. So however format you want to rapid fire.
Well, I'm going to start you off with one, Senator, and I've got you as 2 F-bombs and 1 hell. So that's not bad for one evening.
I think I said bullshit too, but that's okay.
All right, well, we got that one now. I lost, my bingo card was, had a lot more on there, but thank you for your words. I reached out to you, to Nikki, and asked about, a lot of people are concerned about climate change. It's often talked about nationally, but there's a just transitions bill for energy transformation. It's about to expire. I guess it did expire, but Nikki told me that Senator Collette will probably be reintroducing it. Could you comment on that, please?
Sure. So actually, the Just Transition bill is the Office of Just Transition is mine and Representative Amarado's. So we paired up on this last session. It started pre-COVID and it was energy based. COVID hit. We started meeting with more stakeholders as people, transition to work from home, and we realized that adding in the entire state of Pennsylvania's economy in terms of industry. We didn't know what COVID would make our state look like, right, when this was all said and done. So there's going to be other industries that have lost a workforce for a multitude of reasons, whether it was just downsizing, going out of business, whatever it is. And so having a transition plan for those workers, whether it's retail, whether it's whatever it is, some company left Pennsylvania, like, what do we do with these workers? And so that also took the edge off a little bit with some of the building trades debacle. And I say a little bit, but that it wasn't so energy focused, because, and by no means are we trying to tell people, like, if you're a coal worker, go put solar panels up. Like, it's not about us as legislators telling these local communities and the workforce and the workers what you should do. It's, here are the options that you can choose from. And maybe you want to go be a teacher, maybe you want to be a nurse, maybe, like, having people have paid income while they retrain is the number one thing to success with these retraining programs. So the Office of Just Transition, we're about to 2.0, will about to be released. And it simply just legislates that this office exists, and there's a committee of people that are stakeholders that are at the table to decide these plans, and also have a proactive approach to planning our economy so that there's economic security and we're not just a boom and bust like we were with coal and like we're about to be with gas. And so with that, I wish I had a wand that we could end fracking in a minute. I don't. So in the interim of that other piece of the just transition is, while we are transitioning, we need to make this industry safer, and we need to actually monitor and track public health impacts of the fossil fuel industry, which we don't. And that's by design, deliberately, I will say, because we're a corporate state and there's no political will. Not enough, I should say. There's some, of course, a handful of us, but I'm not the governor, so here we are. So we need to really channel that and talk about climate jobs, talk about a workforce transition program that will build not just economic sustainability, but economic security for the families, and to have a pension, to renegotiate and collective bargain coal workers that eventually will be displaced. How do we renegotiate their contracts like they did in New York and other states, so that they can be part of the remediation and clean up right after the plant shuts down? And so we have to be at the table for that. And I say we as the working people and not industry. And that's sort of the conundrum we're in right now. There's a battle with industry and fracking and it's just, we have to have a plan to show people that you're still going to make the same paycheck if you come over to a climate job site, or if you retrain and go to X, Y, and Z industry. So the Office of Just Transition is really the keystone of how Pennsylvania can set itself up. And thankfully, we have an administration that supports this idea presidentially. So there hopefully we'll get some funding. And check out Reimagine Appalachia, because they're also part of, like, Pennsylvania Budget and Policy Center partnered with them to roll out a very similar plan. So we've been working with them. We've spent the last, I'd say, 7 months, every Thursday, sometimes Tuesdays, meeting with different stakeholder groups, talking to people in Greene County, Washington County, Climate Equity Table, AFL-CIO, like every single week, just trying to make sure people felt engaged as we roll out this legislation. And again, it's just one piece, but it's a really important piece to secure good paying jobs moving forward. What else?
Anybody else have a quick question for the senator? We're I don't want to cut Katie ever off, never. But we're running out of time. I can't see any hands. If you could, I looked in the chat and I don't see any more. Someone says you're awesome, which I agree.
Thank you. So are all of you.
And to echo Senator Haywood, we will have your back. We will make sure that that people are out there again. And I know Ann Pavone will be there too. I just saw her name. Any other hands? I see no other hands. So
Wait, Johnny, he raised his hand.
there we go. You got it. John Coffey?
Nope, Johnny Murillo. I don't know
there
if
we
I'm
go.
saying your name last right, or I can't see it. I'm sorry.
Can he talk, Sue?
Myself.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
You're good.
Hello?
There you go.
Hi. So my question is, if there's anything that's been done to change the perspective or the misinformation that a lot of people have about the progressive movement.
And climate change.
So what's being done about like the misconceptions? Is that what you asked?
Yes, correct.
So no, that's okay. I just want to make sure I understood the question. I think a lot of it is that, again, we have to stop repeating the words of the other side. And I really recommend this. I'm like a like unpaid person advertising for Amity and Prosperity, the book, but I read it 3 days straight through Thanksgiving. Eliza Griswold won a Pulitzer for it. And it was actually the first book I've read cover to cover since I was elected without taking 6 months to read it. So I couldn't put it down, but it really talked about messaging and what people that live in communities that rely on fossil fuel industries for income, and what we are, what they perceive us as, like the eastern side of the state, like yuppies who like we plug in our iPhones and don't really care where the energy comes from. And like this whole liberal tree hugging thing and like whatever, fill in the blank term that like they use as a fear mongering tactic, right? I'm a job killer, I think, to some, lunatic in the industry on Twitter. But it's like talking about conservation is a really good way to take the edge off of all of this, like, people, the building trades hate the office of just transition. Like Rick Bloomingdale wrote an op-ed about it after Representative Amarato and I met with him for the first time and like just mocked it. And we were like, okay, like why are you office of just transition? But in other states, they call it like the funeral office that like have gone through this transition. So again, words matter, but like our message and like being there for these conversations and allowing people that aren't on this call like us to be heard is really important. And that conservation is like, yes, we can use our land and resources, but not at the risk of harming human or environmental health, right? And so these areas went through this with coal. They're starting to see it with gas, but gas and oil invest millions of dollars to get community buy-in. And one conversation I got in today was really about how they come in, they put up a school, they build a water park. They literally come in and fill in the gaps that government can't because it's underfunded and whatever programming. And like, you're just like, it's so propaganda, right? Like, because they get this buy-in from the community and it's like jobs, jobs, jobs. And it's so frustrating. So we just really have to be like vocal. Like I always say, like, I'm not afraid to be called like a progressive, because progressive means that I believe in progress, and I do for everybody. And being a liberal isn't this scary thing because I believe in fucking liberty. So like and that should be like we all do. And so we have to just reframe that and stop repeating instead of saying, I'm not a liberal tree hugger. It's like, no, I'm a liberal because I believe in liberty. And like, just say what we believe in. And that we have to be redundant. And that's what the other side has spent millions on think tanks, right? To plan this out. They repeat the same crap. They always stick together, always. Democrats, we eat each other alive. It's like, it sets us back. And so we really have to work on unifying ourselves, educating others, and unifying our message. But I appreciate that question. So really, we could have a whole nother call on that.
Senator. I hate to do it. You're up to 3. That was a beautiful one, though. Johnny, thank you for your question. One way you can help get better information out to the community is join us and help us spread the word.
Sure.
We have active committees right now for Medicare for All. We have a justice, racial justice, social justice committee, and we've just started a climate change Green New Deal committee. But we wanted to hear from you tonight so we could establish more working groups on what people want to hear about. So Senator Muth, it's always good to see you. Thank you so much.
Whatever you need from me, I'm here. Let me know.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you
very
guys.
much. Sue, you back? Can't hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, we're back in business. I did want to just mention, we had a couple of little glitches. So when you're sending chats, just make sure you're sending to everyone. For some reason, it was just sending to one or both of us co-hosts. Right now, we're just going to briefly talk about what each of our working groups are working on to kind of give people a flavor of the work that we're doing. Ali Frazier was going to talk a little bit about the deep canvassing and the phone banking that we were doing for the election.
Yeah, hi everyone. I know we have a lot of work ahead of us, but I just wanted to briefly touch on, some of the work that we did. I know a lot of people on the call did a lot of work, spent a lot of time and their energy in trying to get Trump out of office. And so in partnership with PA Stands Up, volunteers from Progressive Montco helped make hundreds of thousands of calls to PA voters to help elect Joe Biden. And collectively, our team made nearly 218,000 calls. We had nearly 4,000 conversations with voters in Montgomery County. And I know that that includes some of you, so thank you so much for doing that. And we didn't just talk about Joe Biden or down ballot candidates. We had these deep canvas conversations, which were these really long, 20 to 30 minute conversations with people about the issues that really matter to them in their lives. And some of these conversations were really, they're intimate conversations. People are sharing about losing loved ones to COVID, about losing their jobs, things that you're surprised that someone will speak with you about on, as being a stranger calling them up, but people really want to talk. And so that was really powerful for me. And I think it is a great way to talk to people through difference and getting them to open up and be vulnerable. And it really helps you connect with people on a deeper, more human level, and it actually works. It's been shown to be really persuasive. So I think that these conversations really made a difference. And I think that moving forward, what I learned from this experience is that these are the types of conversations that we need to have moving forward. We need to have them with the people in our lives that don't agree with us on policies like Medicare for All, or maybe they don't understand, why criminal justice reform is so important. And so I think that these are the types of conversations and the tactics that we'll need to use for future campaigns, whether it's getting someone elected to borough council or the state legislature, or, helping to increase support for Medicare for All, increase the minimum wage, and all of those things that we really care about. So I'm excited to see how we can use this type of deep canvassing moving forward in all of the work that we're going to do, and really change hearts and minds and create a government that works for all of us. So thank you so much for all the work that you did during the election, and I'm excited about the work that we're going to do together. I'm going to hand it over to Sue Caskey now to talk about what we have planned moving forward in our electoral working group.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, we heard a lot from both of our senators guests about electing people down ballot. And right now, as many of you know, there's already a push to identify candidates, to find people who will run on a progressive platform, and to get them out there and to get the support that they need to get them to win primaries and win elections. Personally, my feeling is that we don't succeed down ballot if we have no distinguishing characteristics. So, getting progressive candidates that are going to really move the needle, I think is what we need, but also groups like this, organizations like this that will support those candidates both financially and then with all of the effort behind them that it takes, like we just did for Joe Biden, to get them elected. So that's what we're working on right now. We're identifying candidates, talking to people, and we will be helping lift those candidates up in 2021 and 2022 and beyond. So let's go to, I think Jamie was going to talk about Medicare for All.
Sure, I will talk forever about Medicare for All. I want to tell you about our working group. We've been together for a year. Our vision, kind of like Johnny was talking about earlier, is to educate our neighbors in Montco about the need for a single-payer national health insurance system. We visited with both Madeline Dean's and Mary Gay Scanlon's staff. Along with National Nurses United, we held a rally in Abington, and we witnessed enthusiastic public support. We continue to circulate a petition in support of Medicare for All. You can sign it and find it on Progressive Montco's website. We developed and produced a webinar on single payer with 3 leading national advocates for single payer. You can see that on our YouTube channel. It's very informative. We have and we will continue to advocate for the Healthcare Emergency Guarantee Act. This would allow those laid off due to the pandemic to enroll in Medicare immediately, rather than go through the expensive and industry-friendly COBRA process. We're currently developing an educational presentation that will explain the basics of health insurance in the US and why a single-payer system is hands down the best solution to the problems that plague our healthcare system today. When we do that, we will make that available for anybody to use or view on the internet. Our next working group meeting is Thursday, January 7th at 6 p.m. Contact me through Progressive Montco and I'll make sure you receive an invite and the link for it. I need to soapbox for just 1 minute as our time is running down. I'm not going to list all the problems with our system. You know them, especially during a pandemic. Our current system's proven not to meet the needs of the people of this nation. People are dying. People are going into deep debt. People are losing their homes because of the injustice of our system, while corporate insurers and their investors are making record profits. This was all before COVID. Medicare for All is the answer. And if you do the research, and if you look at the studies that have been conducted since I was looking back at my notes, the first study I saw suggesting big savings for Medicare for All were back in 1993. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, back then said we could save $300 million a year and insure everybody. Today, just last week, the CBO released another report saying $600 billion a year. I said million before, wrong number. $600 billion a year. We got 2 big issues that stop us from having Medicare for All: corporate and political interests and lack of political courage. Our system's currently controlled by a few private for-profit insurance companies in alliance with the pharmaceutical companies, medical device providers, and large health provider systems. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars lobbying Congress and advertising against Medicare for All. That money could go and should go to actual health care. Lack of political courage. We've known about this problem for 50 years now, my whole lifetime. And we've only sat and watched it get worse and worse while perpetuating the same system. The Democratic Party is focused on electability and cautious policy proposals, fearful of being perceived as socialists. In fact, my Democratic Party has done a great disservice to the debate regarding Medicare for All. They failed to address reality or the truth that every major industrialized nation employs the same form of single-payer health insurance at nearly half the cost per person. They falsely state that Medicare for All will take away people's health insurance, when the truth is Medicare for All would replace it with more comprehensive and less costly coverage. They use insurance industry messaging claiming that Americans want choice, when the reality is Americans are offered very little to no choice in coverage. If we're ever to improve the lives of the people of this nation, we must move beyond the politics of what we think is electorally achievable to a form of politics that demands what people need. If you deliver for people, you'll gain their loyalty, you'll build a strong constituency, and you'll once again attain hegemony. Thank you. Sue Stout is going to talk about several things, actually.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sue Stout. I'm the other co-chair of Progressive Montco. I'm so glad to have all of you here. It's so exciting to see everybody. We're running out of time, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about, I had a little speech just to tell you a little bit about myself and what brought me to Progressive Montco. But I think the biggest thing that I want to say, people have said so many things tonight that really ring true. And one of the things that really drives my work with Progressive Montco is that I grew up during an era of when unions were the backbone of the working class. My dad was a union guy, and that was a time period when there was a sense of the common good. There was public education that it actually included free college and trade school for low-income people. There were jobs, the infrastructure was stronger. And what we've seen is that the policies, the really cruel governmental policies that we are seeing now during this pandemic, the pandemic has really pulled the veil away and shown what goes on in politics. We at Progressive Montco believe that it is up to us to take charge, join together, and rebuild our communities to be places that we can all thrive. The senators tonight have spoken eloquently about this. So we're asking you to join with us. I've done a few projects with Progressive Montco over the years since we got started, and I've been tasked with building out the Environmental Justice and Green New Deal Working Group. So we want to work with Senator Muth on the just transition. There's so many things we want to do. We want to work against fracking and the subsidies to try and reallocate funds to support Pennsylvanians, especially during this pandemic, to rebuild our livelihoods. We have to protect our waterways and make corporations pay for their polluting. There's little things that we can do too, like implementing regreening and rewilding in our neighborhoods and communities. So Progressive Montco needs your help to do these things. And here's just a couple of things that you can do. And Sue is going to talk about this too as we end our evening. But please make a donation to us, become a dues paying member, and join our working groups like the Environmental Justice and Green New Deal Working Group. We want to build out a racial justice working group to fight cash bail in Montgomery County, as Senator Haywood talked about. So together we can rebuild a strong sense of the public good in Montgomery County and Pennsylvania. So I look forward to working with all of you on that. And I'll boot it back to Sue and we'll close out the evening. But thank you for coming.
Yeah, again, thanks. I really wanted to say I'm thrilled that so many folks were able to join us tonight, and that all of you, so many of you have worked with us already in the past few months and few weeks. One of the things that I try to talk about as much as possible is building power. When we all raised our hands earlier tonight, we are building power. That was an illustration of what that looks like. It's solidarity, it's power. It doesn't really, to me, it's not so much important what party you're a member of, it's what are your policies? Are you working for the people or are you working for money? And when you're building power, there's two ways to do that. It's organized people and organized money. Why do you think Donald Trump is doing what he's doing? It's because he is organizing money. He's raising money. He's going to keep running for president because he keeps getting money. So AOC said it, we have the people, they have the money, but now we need to have the money too. And I don't just mean Progressive Montco, but yes, Progressive Montco too. By raising money and by having dues paying members, we turn all of that money back into work that we're doing in Montgomery County with all of you and for all of you, for all residents. That it's spent on communications, it's spent on technology, it's spent on supporting candidates, and it's spent on bringing in staff that can do the organizing work that many of us don't have time to do as with family members and jobs that we have to attend to day in and day out. So I would just like to ask you, if you're interested in working with us, we're working in coalition with many groups around the county and around the state. Working very closely with PA Stands Up. So whatever our members donate to us today and what our dues paying members contribute also builds power, not just in Montgomery County, but throughout the state. It has a ripple effect through Harrisburg and out to Washington too. So please join us tonight. We have some lovely prizes, and I just realized I don't have the little slide ready that I wanted to show you with all of the gifts, but we have several books and t-shirts and things that we'll be giving as gifts to the first 12 people that sign up as our dues paying members. We have books like Hegemony How To by Jonathan Smucker, who's from PA Stands Up. And also The People Know by Thomas Frank, and some of our Count Every Vote swag and some other great things. You'll also be included on our newsletters and in all of our working groups and our Slack channel. We do a lot of work in our Slack workspace. So again, we need your support. Please join us as members, but if you decide to not do that tonight, we look forward to working with you anyway as we build solidarity in Montgomery County. We're very excited. We have a great momentum going now, and the work's just getting started, folks. We won the Biden thing, we won the Biden election, and now the real work begins. So I'm going to turn it back to Mandy to close out for the evening. And again, I appreciate all of you joining us tonight. Mandy, let me see if do I need to unmute you? Let's see if I can find her on here. Yeah, sorry, folks. We are having a bunch of technical issues tonight, unfortunately. There we go. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. So you can help make change happen with Progressive Montco, and we need you. It was so wonderful to meet so many of you today, and I'm really glad you are here, and I look forward to fighting the good fight with you today and going forward. Together we can make a huge difference. And we want you to become members of Progressive Montco, to work with us, to fight with us for people power, for things that will change lives for the better. And we need you to become dues paying members. So please, it's in the Slack how to do that. So I'm not the Slack, in the chat of this call, how to do that. And again, it's been a true pleasure to have you all. And thank you to Senator Haywood and Senator Muth for being here as well. Go to our website to find out more about us and to join us.